not saying she deserved it, but I'm saying God's timing is always right.
And goodness knows the wicked's lives are lonely.
These people are disgusting. They are disgusting. They make me sick. I don't know how you guys feel. I'm angry. I think you guys know I have never done an evening show or any kind of special episode, but today is going to be that day. Good morning, Rob. Good to see you in the evening. I know it's a little weird for us to be here in the evening, and I'm telling you right off the bat, I'm a mess. I had to work all day. I'm tired. I'm like burning up. I'm dirty. But you know what? I was doing my best. I'm working, trying to get some tidbits of information. Charlie Kirk, 31 years old, the founder of Turning Point, which is a political action committee. And we're going to talk about that. Dead today. Unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. I'm sure you guys all saw the video playing out. I wasn't going to play that video to start the show, but the show's a lot about anger, and it's anger at people like that. I'm a conservative. If you're listening to the show, you probably are a conservative too. Hello, Tricia. Good to see you. But I'll tell you, as a conservative, I don't wish anyone dead. No one. I can't think of any single person right now that I wish dead. Not anyone I know personally, not anyone I know in the media, not any person who belongs to the Democrat Party, not any person who is a far, far fringe left liberal. Why? Because I'm Christian. That's why. Why? Because I don't have hate in my heart. That's why. I don't hate anyone. And, but there's a war. A line has been crossed today. The line had already been crossed this week with Irina Zarutska's assassination, literally, is what that was. And we see another one today. The war has already began. And having that happen today was just that next step. We're already infuriated that we have this man, DeCarlos Brown, as you guys know, in Charlotte, North Carolina, who if you saw the entire video, he's sitting in a metro type of train. Little Arena comes in and sits right in front of him, not thinking anything, because you know why? Because she doesn't have hate in her heart. She didn't look like she had a racist bone in her body. In fact, for anyone who's seen some of her photos, she had a poster in her bedroom that said Black Lives Matter. And then this guy kills her, a 14-time repeat offender. And let me tell you something, the way that he did that with that precision, that wasn't his first time. It was not his first time. This guy has committed a homicide in the past. We don't know who it is, and they probably aren't even going to look into it. But that guy, it was not that guy's first time. You don't just walk up and know exactly where to cut someone and that quickly and then hurry up and move away. You don't know how to do that without having done it before. And I'll tell you, I'm angry. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the hatred. I'm sick of it. Tricia says, I'm furious and I have been so upset. Me too. So heartbroken. Kim says, "Hey Patriots, Stacy, a fire has been now. You better believe it." Cindy, hi everybody. I'm heartbroken. Me too. Sheila says it's so sad and disturbing to watch. It is awfully disturbing. Drew, that definitely was a professional. Drew, no question about it. That was absolutely professional. And you can't play the video. I don't know why. I have been having some technical issues, but if you can't find me on Facebook, go over to X. You can see it there. Denise says, heartbreaking, Sherry. That was flat out assassination. Yes, both cases, assassination. When I heard about Charlie Kirk today, I'm telling you what, I felt like I was in a dream state. I really did. I felt like I was in a dream state. I'm like, how can this be? How can this possibly be happening? He's 31 years old. Back in 2022, in April of 2022, I was doing co-hosting a radio show there called Amped in the AM. And at the time, we had the station owners arranged for Charlie Kirk to come in. We interviewed him in the studio. He flew to St. Louis. He came into the studio. He was also having a live speaking event. I believe I don't know if it was at Faith Church or Grace Church. I think Grace Church, but he had a live speaking event. And we got the opportunity to talk to him, not only on the interview, but to talk to him behind the scenes as well. And he told us about his family. Somebody there, I think one of the owners had asked him how he met his wife, I think is how that transpired. And you could tell this guy is a family man. The only thing he cared in life was about his faith and his family. And when you care about your faith and your family, guess what? Then you care about your country too, because you want your country to be a good place for your family, correct? And for your religion, because without religion, you don't have family, and vice versa. And I apologize. I'm probably not going to catch up with all the comments, Lori. Is it hate? Is it mental health? Does it even matter? So very sad. It's probably, I'm just going to say it because we're there. The people on the very far fringe left, it is mental illness. It is mental illness, but that's not an excuse. But that's not what happened to Charlie Kirk today. That's not what happened. Kim says, I cannot believe they're still looking for the shooter. Yes, Mary, there has been an FBI person state it was a professional hit. It absolutely was 100% a professional hit. And when you saw that, you knew exactly what it was. Cindy, he was at Grace Church a few years ago. Thank you. That's probably where he went after our show. Yes, Sandy, it is a dark day. I've got a lot of video to play. We've got a lot to talk about. There's been a couple of different people arrested. I'm going to show you the video of the first guy here. We got so much to talk about. We got so much to talk about. So I'm going to try to get through it all. And I'm going to show you, the media is to blame. And we're definitely going to be talking about the media. I want to show you this guy here. Hopefully I can get this video to play right. This guy right here, George Zinn. See that? That's George Zinn right there on the ground. Now, George Zinn did not shoot Charlie Kirk, but he confessed to shooting Charlie Kirk. Why did this guy, George Zinn, confess to shooting Charlie Kirk? He said, I did it. They came out, they got him on the ground. Everybody online saying, hey, they got the shooter. This guy confessed. George Zinn did confess. Now, he was taken in. It turns out witnesses were like, no, he did not do it. This guy did not fire a gun. They're like, the shots came from behind us. Somebody said from up front, but most people said the shots came from behind them, not this George Zinn. So George Zinn has been arrested for obstruction of justice. And I've got a video here to back that statement up. Sherry, good
Shortly
point.
after the shooting, we did have a suspect in custody, George Zinn, but he was released from custody after we identified that he did not match the shooting suspect and was not an accurate person of interest. However, he has been booked into the county jail by Utah Valley University Police Department for obstruction of justice.
Okay, so Sherry, you make a great point. You said decoy. Now I'm wondering, the shooter has not been the suspect has not been apprehended. Now there's a possibility they know who he is, but I don't think they do. At this point, I don't think they have any idea who the shooter is. I think that they're going out, they're doing their due diligence, and we, including myself, we're just running with it when we see there's been an arrest made because we all want to know who did this. Who did this to Charlie Kirk, but who did this to us? Because it's heartbreaking for us, and we're going to talk about Charlie Kirk and who he is and about Turning Point. But the first question, who did this? Why did this person do this? That's what the big question is. It was absolutely, you can tell when you watch that video, that was a hit. Now, we have to be careful when it's a professional hit. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a hit man, but it was a hit in the respect that someone planned this out, a lot like what happened with Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, right? A lot of similarities there, correct? And so, yes, it was a hit in that way. It was somebody professional. And by professional, that just means they knew what they were doing. Was it for hire? We don't know. Was it a former military person? We don't know. I don't think that it's a trans activist. I absolutely do not. I don't think it was George Zinn. I don't think it was this Zachariah Qureshi, because when I saw this photo of George Zinn, a friend of mine, he's a FBI agent. We kind of talk back and forth. I sent that photo to him and I'm like, there is no way this guy did this. This guy doesn't even look like he owns a gun. He looks like Bernie Sanders. This guy has probably never seen a shooting range in his life or hunted. That guy does not have a gun. Was he a decoy? Did he truly try to stop the investigation from them finding who the true killer was? Did he do it on his own? Was he put up to it? Those are all questions we have that we do not know. And Drew says they can't hold him. I don't think Qureshi is the guy. Now, Zachariah Qureshi was the name that was just released recently. I shared his information on my Facebook page. But again, I'm like, I just read about this guy. I'm like, how can this be? I just read about him this morning, and not him, so much directly, but about him and a group of other interns at the Heritage Foundation. There's been a big story going around about somebody that Donald Trump hired to work in the head up the anti-terrorism task force, and they said it was a 22-year-old intern from the Heritage Foundation. And while I was researching him, I came across this guy's name. Not that he did anything wrong, nothing along those lines. I don't know what led them to Zachariah Qureshi, but I have a really hard time believing, again, that kid, he's just a young kid, that he has the experience necessary to climb up on a roof and shoot. And I'll say the same thing about Butler, Pennsylvania, too. That guy, I don't think so. Now, he only missed because Donald Trump turned his head, a fraction of an inch. What was it, like 2 millimeters? Not a chance, not a chance. And let's see, vote for Pedro. First thought it was a sick joke AI video. You know what? Vote for Pedro. First of all, I love that band. There is a band in St. Louis called that. But I'll tell you what, I did too. When I first saw it, I'm like, is this a dream? What is happening? This can't be real. And then I saw the video and I thought, oh my God, that's not survivable. When you see that type of wound, that's not survivable. I'm not going to get into why that's not survivable. I'm not going to play the video. I shared the video for a couple of minutes on my Facebook page out of outrage because I want people to say, and it was wrong of me. And I took it down right away. And a couple people sent me messages like, you shouldn't have posted that. We don't want his family to see it. Unfortunately, his family, his wife and 2 children, they were there in Utah. They were there. They were with him. They saw it play out in real life. It's just horrific. But I was so angry that I'm like, I want people to understand, people like you and me, that this is what they want to do to us. This is what they want to do to us. They hate us. This is all about hatred. They hate us. I don't care if it was a professional hit or not. This is about a group of people that hate us because someone put this person up to this shooting. Someone planned this well in advance. Someone there was probably multiple people involved. I don't believe it was just one guy that went up on the roof and committed this shooting from 200 yards away. I don't believe it. There's got to be more to the story because if you saw, there were police officers everywhere. Law enforcement was all over. Charlie Kirk knows the danger he's in. He understands that. He makes sure that his events are secure and that he is secure. And unfortunately, he's sitting on a stage, and I hate to say it in this term or terminology, but he is an easy target. Anyone who goes out in public and speaks is an easy target. He knew that, and he did the best he could to protect himself. But who would think that somebody would hate him so much? What has he done? What has he said to bring someone to hate him? And trust me, we're definitely going to talk about that. This is 100% about hate. People talk about it being a war, and I'm telling you what, it is a war. It's a war against us. The problem is we're not in the war, are we? We have not entered the war. Maybe we will. Maybe some people will. I hope that we don't. I hope we refrain because we're better than that. We're not going to go out and take the bait and start burning cars, burning cities, burning businesses down in our own communities. That's not going to happen. That's not who we are, is it? We're not going to do that. But what we are going to do is we're going to acknowledge the hate that people have for us. And then we're going to talk. First of all, we're going to acknowledge the hate. And then we're going to talk about Charlie Kirk and who he was. And we've got a lot to talk about. So I probably should get to it. Andrew says, I agree. It was planned. Absolutely planned. Kurt's hateful rhetoric of the left has delivered what they want. You better believe it. But there's probably, and that has a lot to do with it. But we're going to talk about turning point and what turning point is. And we're going to talk about reasons why someone would want to do this to Charlie Kirk. And you might be surprised that there's many reasons, not just one reason. Excuse me, I do suspect one reason, but we're going to talk about that. And I very well could be wrong. There's a lot of, I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of people that hate us. And I blame the media. Let's start right here with media enemy number 1. Let's start here. Now, this is not about Charlie Kirk, but Charlie Kirk posted this video. I believe it was just yesterday about Arena's death. So take a look at Van Jones. Most of you have seen this. Disgusting, absolutely disgusting. We're going to take
We
a
don't
very
know why that man did what he did. And for Charlie Kirk to say, we know he did it because she's white, when there's no evidence of that, it's just pure race mongering, hate mongering.
Okay, now this is
have a
a leader
right to
from Black Lives
violence.
Matter.
All oppressed people have a right to violence. And I'm going to tell you something. It's like the right to pee. You got to have the right place. You got to have the right time. You got to have the appropriate situation. And I'm absolutely convinced.
I'm not going to play that whole video. That's a Black Lives Matter leader wearing her, I think, what do they call that? A keffiyeh, something along those lines. Unbelievable. But this is how they feel about us. They hate us. They do. They hate us. And I want to be very clear who they is. I used to be on an old show with Vic Faust, and he would always say, who's they? So I want to make sure I explain who they is. It's not necessarily Democrats. It's not necessarily anti-Christians, because I know a lot of Democrats. I know a lot of liberals. I know some trans people. I know people in the LGBTQ community. I know people in the Muslim community. They don't all hate us. In fact, most of them do not hate us. Most of them, like I say often on our regular show, they just want to live their lives in peace like the rest of us. But unfortunately, there are some folks on the very, very far fringe left. And I used to call them the 2%ers. If you guys ever listened to my prior shows, I call them the 2%ers. But it's not like the 4%ers, because that group is continuing to grow. You know, that's the Antifa, the Bernie, what's his name, Sanders supporters. All of those folks on the very far fringe left. But I'll tell you what, I'm not necessarily going to blame those folks for what happened to Charlie Kirk today, because there's a lot of other things going on too. And so we're going to get to the two different groups that could be responsible for what happened today. That's one group. We played these videos. These are the people who hate us. Now, these are the everyday people. I don't blame it on Democrats. Most Democrats, most Black Americans, most Muslim Americans, they do not hate us. They don't want to kill us. But there are groups that do. Those people on the very far, far, far fringe left who feel demarginalized. They think that they have the right to act out in violence. Those people hate us. And trust me, they are and will act out in violence. And I have a feeling we're going to see a lot more where that came from. Now, the other situation with Charlie Kirk, with Charlie Kirk outside of the far fringe left. Now, the only way somebody on the very far fringe left did this, maybe they grouped together and hired, let's say, an assassin. Maybe one of them. Most of them do not have military experience, but we've seen a lot of incidents where there were these weird random cases where people popped up and did have, military experience, who hated Christians and hated this country, hated Donald Trump. That's a possibility, but we also have to think, what is Turning Point? Charlie Kirk started Turning Point. Turning Point is a political action committee. Charlie Kirk started Turning Point when he was 18 years old. Now Turning Point is huge. It is huge. And it has a lot of people scared, I'm telling you. And I'm going to tell you this. You know who it has scared? It has the deep state scared. The deep state. Why? Because in the 2023-2024 election cycle, Charlie Kirk's Turning Point raised almost $8 million. Now, that's a lot. That's a lot of money for a small, or what was once a small political action committee. So it's not all, everybody wants to look at what Charlie's saying and what he's talking about on his videos and all these different things that he gets involved in. But a lot of it is what is he actually doing with Turning Point? There's a lot of folks out there who don't like Turning Point, and the reason why, and I know this because for most of you who know me know that last year for 42 days, gosh knows you've heard me say that a lot, I joined America PAC. That's Elon Musk's super PAC. I went to Georgia. My son went with me. We were up in the Blue Ridge Mountains. We canvassed to get out the early vote for Donald Trump. And we met a lot of people, and a lot of people we met also worked with Turning Point. Now, not long after I left there, God, thank God we won Georgia in the early vote, right? Well, when I got home, some of the people that I had come into contact with were messaging me. They're like, hey, Turning Point's wanting, people to come out and do the same thing. Do you want to go to Wisconsin, or do you want to go, to these different cities and work for Turning Point? It was a very similar situation where you go out, you're canvassing, you're getting out the vote. Now, in this case, the presidential election was over. But what Charlie is doing, the same thing that Elon Musk plans to do with his new political action committee, is what Charlie wants to do. And what Charlie is doing is he is tackling these small elections, because don't we all talk about how it all starts in these small elections, city councils, mayor races. It happens at the local level for your local congressman, your House representative. So Charlie was using the money that comes in to hire a lot of people to go out and get the vote for these candidates who are going to uphold what? Christianity, yes, who are going to uphold Christian values, family values. And there's a lot of people out there who are establishment, who are deep state, who do not like that. They don't like it. They do not want conservatives, Donald Trump supporters, Christians, white people out in these different districts trying to get the vote. They don't like it. And I learned that a lot of these Democrat political action committees, they don't pay. They just want volunteers. They're not they do a lot of right things, the Democrats do. But one thing they don't do is they're not good at getting people together to go out and get the vote, like Charlie Kirk is with Turning Point, like Elon Musk is with America PAC. And so Charlie Kirk has been very effective in turning over many elections in this country. That can cause a lot of people to put a target on your head. And again, I don't know that it's related to that. I don't know that it's related to those far fringe groups. I don't know who did this to Charlie Kirk, but there's a lot of people out there, as you can see, who have reason to want something harmful to happen to him. Because if Turning Point ceases to exist, guess what? In those regions, a lot of Democrats are going to win those seats, aren't they? So there's a lot there to think about. I know I'm going to try to catch up with comments. Joe says, I think this came down from the top. I agree, Joe. For all we know, it could be a CIA operation, because I'm going to tell you right now, some of the CIA, they're not working with Donald Trump. They're working against him. So that's certainly possible. The deep state has not disappeared just because Donald Trump is president. The deep state is alive and well. Absolutely so. And let's see here. And Jeffrey, he brought in a lot of young voters. You better believe it. Not only did he bring in a lot of young voters, but for those of you who don't know, and something that we interviewed Charlie Kirk about, is that Charlie Kirk has groups in just about every college across the United States, even in the most liberal colleges. Charlie Kirk has groups of young people that go around and talk about Christianity. They talk about their faith. They talk about conservatism, and they're out. They're trying to get people to vote in our direction, and people just come unglued over it. And I will have to say that Charlie Kirk is probably the most pivotal person we have right now in our country who is getting these young people out to vote. Elon Musk is probably number two. Charlie Kirk is number one, because I'll tell you, he uses that political action committee money to have these Turning Point groups and all of these different colleges. You can go out, you can read about them. We've interviewed, some of these college students in some prior shows that work for Turning Point at the different colleges. And I'll tell you, these college students put up with an awful lot of grief. So there's a lot of people out there who hate Christianity. They hate conservatism. They hate MAGA. They hate Donald Trump. They hate anything that stands for us conservatives. It's all hate. It's brought by the media. These people, the hate is not even real. They don't even know what they hate. They hate what the media tells them to hate. The true enemy is the media. The true enemy is the media. If for some reason these people all turn their televisions off, guess what? Somebody even told me, I'm not going to go down that road right now. Somebody was telling me all this crazy stuff about Donald Trump. I'm like, where in the world did you hear that? Oh, in an LGBTQ magazine. I'm like, well, why are you listening to these people? They're not telling you the truth. That's a special interest group. They're going to tell you what they want you to hear. But there's so many people running around who only listen to MSNBC, Van Jones. There's so many people listening to Rachel Maddow. These people have nothing but contempt for us. Same in the case with Arena in Charlotte, North Carolina. I can guarantee you that DeCarlos Brown listened to that same filth that a lot of these other folks do that hate us. They absolutely hate us. Do not forget it. Stacy said he also has groups of high schools. Oh, I did not know that, Stacy. Absolutely so. And that's what I'm saying. He's very pivotal with those young supporters. Tim says he was actually molding youth supporters for his party, which made him a target. I think that, Tim, if I had to choose targets and why somebody would want to do this to Charlie Kirk, I think it's going to be either his Political Action Committee, if I can talk right, and the Political Action Committee, what they're doing in the communities and what they're doing at the schools, because it is making a difference. Do you know how many students we interviewed back in the day that were part of the Turning Point groups and these different colleges? They told us they're making a difference. They are making a difference. They're bringing Christianity back into some of these liberal schools. And that alone would put a big target on his head. But I've got a clip here of Charlie talking, which I think is interesting too. And Joe, yes, Turning Point will be bigger than other, because trust me, they're not just going to give up. And yes, Darren, it is a sad day. Drew says he's hiding something about his relation. Oh, stop. Charlie Kirk has absolutely nothing to do with Epstein. I can promise you that one on my life. That is absolutely not the case. And then after this, we're going to talk again. I want to show you this video from Charlie Kirk. We're going to talk about the shooter again. And we're going to go, I'm going to show you some different vantage points of where the shooter was. We're going to, talk about so far. I've not heard everything there is to hear. Little bits are coming out here and there. There, as of right now, as of the start of the show anyway, there is no suspect in custody. So, and one thing we're going to dispel also, a lot of people said, oh, Israel is behind it. Charlie Kirk has turned against Israel. That's not true. And I'm going to read a statement from Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to tell you that's absolutely not true. This doesn't have anything at all to do with Israel, nothing at all. And let's see here. Where is my video? My videos don't like to load correctly. All right, so of course it's not going to load, so that doesn't help anything. Let me see if I can get it. Well, I'm not going to be able to get it loaded on. Charlie Kirk has a video, and for whatever reason, it's not loading on my system. But what Charlie Kirk does is he was talking about we talk about this a lot on the show about Sharia law and how in this country we need to ban Sharia law. And of course, if you listen to my show, I couldn't agree more. We absolutely do need to ban Sharia law. And he talks about how the Democrats and the liberals want to bring in socialism, Marxism, and how that comes in with Islam, with radical Islam. I want to point out, not just Islam, but radical Islam. And so I've heard a lot of talk that it could be that he has a target on his head from radical Islamicists. Now, that's certainly a possibility, but this isn't usually their MO. I don't imagine any radical Muslim is climbing up on a roof and shooting Charlie Kirk from 200 yards away. That's not their style. I don't expect that to be the case. Since I don't have that video, we're just going to look at some of these vantage points. Karen said, yes, it is so sad. Jeffrey says, if he didn't get the shooter immediately, I don't trust whoever they do arrest. That's a tough one, isn't it? Jeffrey, they may never find anyone, quite honestly. They may never find who did this. And that's the sad part that we're going to have to think about. If indeed this was somebody, let's say professional, that was hired by the deep state, let's just say, they'll probably never find out who this person is. A true professional is not going to leave anything behind for you to find. They're not going to let you do that. But also, they were hidden pretty well. We're going to take a look at a couple of these videos, and you'll see exactly how well they were hidden. And Drew says, Israel's out of control. They even managed to, upset Donald. No, look, here's a statement by Charlie Kirk. Israel is not behind this. I can promise you that. That's not the case. Charlie Kirk said right here, he said, don't listen to the haters. I unequivocally stand with Israel and its right to defend itself. My time in the Holy Land changed my life forever and made me a stronger Christian. But I'm also not going to bend over backwards to prove just how behind Israel I am to satisfy a few rhinos and pompous know-it-alls on Twitter. It's because I care that I am shocked and angry at the initial failures that let this happen. Talking, of course, about Gaza and Israel. He's asking questions, he says, does not make you anti-Israel. And I think we all agree asking questions does not make you anti-Israel. And he said the facts are that Israel got intel, something was mounting in Gaza, but did not put military forces on the border on high alert. That warrants an explanation. Israel has every right to kill every last Hamas terrorist. So Israel is not targeting Charlie Kirk. That is not the case. This is either someone who is a professional hitman, or it's someone that far, far left radical group found. Now, I think we're probably going to find, we're used to this, A lot of smoke and mirrors, a lot of smoke and mirrors. And I don't know. We may never find out who did this, but I've got a couple of videos here of the vantage point. I'm going to try to load up that other video while we look at this. I don't know why, as you guys know, I had some problems with my system the other day. So we'll see. Gosh, I don't know. I hope I'm not having more problems than I even think I am. Let's take a look at this
Getting right
here.
up. Yeah. You think he'd already be in place? You would think
that.
So
Well, I
there's
work
somebody on the roof right there? Just saying. Huh. He just ran from over. Where's my finger? Well, from over there, ran in, and now he's right there. Just saying.
All right, I'm gonna play this for a couple seconds so you guys can take a good look.
Getting right up. Yeah. You think he'd already be in place? You would think that. So there's somebody on the roof right there?
And you can see them up in the corner.
Huh. He just
You
ran
can see
from
them up in the top. And I guess I'm gonna play this
where's my finger?
for a couple seconds 'cause I'm trying to get the
From
video.
over there, ran in, and now he's right there. Just saying. Just
Whoops. All right, well, that'll make it easy. I didn't even know I could do that.
The spiritual battle is coming to the West. And the enemies are wokeism or Marxism combining with Islamism to go after what we call the American way of life. And the American way of life is very simple. I want to be able to get married, buy a home, have kids, allow them to ride their bike till the sun goes down, send them to a good school, have a low-crime neighborhood, not to have my kid be taught the lesbian, gay, transgender garbage in their school, while also not having them have to hear the Muslim call to prayer 5 times a day. That's important. We want the American way of life, which is, by the way, Christendom. Christians, our sacrifice, our toil, our vision, the outgrowth of the scriptures gave us Western civilization. And this is where I think is a great rallying cry. Doesn't matter if you're Hispanic, doesn't matter if you're Asian, doesn't matter if you're black or white. Everybody, if you are Christian and Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, these two threats are combining forces to come after us. And it's time that the church stands and rises up against it.
Yep.
Well, see, people don't like that view now, do they? And sorry, I'm having. I didn't realize my phone does whatever my computer does. Learning something new today. So anyway, let me turn this off. Maybe this is why I'm having problems during the morning show because I don't know how my system works. As you can see by listening to Charlie Kirk there, that was an important video. And quite honestly, it's very hard to watch. It's hard to watch that video and know we're not going to hear that wisdom. Thank God Charlie has a bazillion videos and we can keep going back and listening to that wisdom. Not only does he have a point here, but this is exactly why these folks on the far fringe left, exactly why the deep state doesn't like him. Because we all know what they're trying to do. And I'm not talking about your average, everyday Democrat that lives in your community. Those people, they're just suckers, is what they are. They don't even understand what's happening to them. It's just they're listening to this crazy liberal media and they hate Donald Trump. They hate us because we support Donald Trump. But most of them don't want to harm us. That's the difference. But you get these folks who hate us with such a crazy degree, such a degree. You've seen the videos of these people. They're just seething. You know, they cannot wait for something terrible to happen to us. I saw so many videos of people just praising whoever the shooter was for doing this to Charlie Kirk. It just makes me sick, absolutely sick. And you know what? Somebody said, I think the comment's probably gone now, that maybe it's better if we don't ever find the killer. Maybe that's better. You know, I don't know. I also don't know what's going on with my system here, but I'm going to try to figure it out. But we don't know who the killer is. We don't know why they did this. Right now, all we can do is guess. But if you take a look at this video, I'm going to show once again, of the shooter.
Getting right up. Yeah. You think he'd already be in place? You would think that.
They're laying down, but here's the thing.
So there's somebody on the roof right there?
People saw this guy. This before the
He just
shooter.
ran from over. Where's my finger? Well, from over there.
All right, so I'm going to stop it right there. Doesn't that remind you of Butler, Pennsylvania, where we had the guy who climbs up on the roof? He's got the ladder. People see him climbing up. There's a lot of other videos. I'm just not going to play them all right now because you've all seen them already. There's a lot of other videos out there of this shooter running across the roof. I've not seen anyone that saw him go up, but what I want to ask, just like we've asked before, when it came to Butler, how did he get up there? Now, I realize that Charlie Kirk is not Donald Trump. They're not necessarily going to go through and secure these buildings like they would for our United States president. I get that. But didn't somebody see this guy come in? Was he truly a professional hitman and his weapon was broken down and he carried it up in some small compartment so that no one could see it? But I mean, this has to be a pretty decent weapon to be able to shoot from that far away. And I want you to think about one thing if you think about anything: one shot. They fired one shot. And that shot with pinpoint precision hit Charlie in just the right spot. Had that hit him anywhere else, there was a good chance he would have survived. But when they shot him at such a precise spot in his artery that it would have shredded his artery. As soon as I saw that, I'm sure many of you thought the same thing. There is no way that is not a survivable injury. Now, who is it that is up there on the roof? And Karen says, yes, it does look like Butler. I don't live far from Butler. Yeah, then Karen, you definitely remember how all that played out. Jeffrey says he could articulate a point and not say all the time. Right. And Jeffrey, it's funny that you say that, because any of us who do radio or podcasting, or I'm sure people in television, that can be a battle sometimes. For me, I've not really been too much of an kind of person, but a lot of people are. And let's see, Brian says the left doesn't like anyone that disagrees with them. Man, you've got that right. And Allison, pro sniper. Allison is looking more and more like that way. And Jeffrey says the initial guy confessed, took critical resources from apprehended. Yeah, that was his George Zinn was his name. And absolutely correct. He took critical resources away. I don't know if he was, Sherry or mentioned earlier, maybe he was a decoy. Was this part of a larger plan? Were there many people who knew? Some of you guys have seen a screenshot. There was a trans guy named Omar, or a trans girl, I'm not sure what the proper term is, named, the screen name was Omar. Now, this person went way out of their way to post. And what this person said was very ominous. And I am sure that the FBI has already been to their home or is on their way right now. And this person said, they wish something would happen to Charlie Kirk. I've got the screenshots here. I can just read them to you. Unbelievable what this person was saying. These people are crazy. He posted, Charlie Kirk is coming to my college tomorrow. I really hope someone evaporates him, literally. And then he said, let's just say something big will happen tomorrow. Now, I've got two takes on this. One is this guy, first of all, this guy, trans person, posted many different posts, and they're all different. You can tell they're different because they have different photos and a little bit of different verbiage in each of them. But he made it very clear, very clear. Now, this would be the patsy, in my opinion. This trans person is the patsy. That's how I'm going to see it play out, where this person posted everywhere they could that Charlie Kirk is coming to their college and something big is going to happen to him. Now, he posted this a day ahead. And is it coincidence that he said something is going to happen? Is he the patsy? Is he the fall guy? I don't know who said it. Like somebody else said here, if they don't arrest him right now, then you don't trust what they're going to come up with. I don't. I love Kash Patel. I love Dan Bongino. But the minute those two sat down in front of our faces and told us that Epstein unalived himself in that cell, I knew then that they're going to say whatever they have to say. I like them both. But you know what? They've got to play the game if they want to, stay relevant in that position. They've got to play the game. And, I don't for 1 minute believe that's the case. And especially now that we've seen that 1 minute of footage they lied to us about. It was just a glitch in the computer. These things happen. No, they purposefully pulled out 1 minute of coverage. And then once we saw it, we saw the guard going into Epstein's cell. So, our own government. I love Donald Trump. God knows I do. I went to Georgia to work to make sure he got the early vote, but that doesn't mean our administration isn't going to lie to us. Are we ever going to find out who did this to Charlie Kirk? And then when we do, are we going to believe it? That's the next question. Are we going to believe it? Because when I go back and I look at Butler, Pennsylvania, I don't believe any of it. I don't believe any of it. I think it was all lies. All lies. Drew says exactly. Not with a high caliber rifle, he wouldn't have survived. Those bullets tear your organs apart. Yeah, there was no surviving of that. And when I was hearing those media reports, and they're like, oh, he's critical and critical condition and critical and stable. I'm like, okay, there is absolutely no way in a million years. I thought, well, he could potentially be critical and maybe they were able to, he's got a lot of medical teams there. Maybe they were able to take care of that wound right away and put some pressure and some other things and keep him alive until maybe he's an organ donor or something along those lines. Never once in my mind did I ever think it was stable because when that type of injury can never be stable, that is not a survivable injury. It's just not. And I'll tell you, it is heartbreaking to see. I still feel like it's a dream. I don't know about you guys. I still feel like it's a dream. I still don't feel like it's real. I just don't. Tim says, I've also seen conspiracy that he was wearing a low grade bulletproof vest and that it may have been a chest shot that ricocheted towards his neck. But I don't know if I don't buy that at all. I could be wrong, but I've looked at that video pretty close. And I'll tell you, to me, it looked like the perfect shot that there is someone on top of that building who is a perfect shot from 200 yards away. Very similar to Butler, Pennsylvania, 200 yards away, right? Are we going to believe that guy? What was it? I can't remember that guy's name. Are we going to believe that that guy climbed up on that roof in Butler, Pennsylvania and took, that shot at, now he took several shots at Donald Trump and really had Donald Trump not moved his head by that little bitty fraction, he wouldn't be with us anymore. Charlie Kirk didn't stand a chance. This was an execution. It was an assassin. I hope that we find out who did this. I don't know whether we'll trust it or not. There's already so many weird things. I wouldn't even be doing this show right now if it weren't for the fact that there's already so many weird things taking place. A, why would this person do this? B, is it a professional sniper? Is it somebody that maybe the far fringe left hired? Is it a deep state operative? There's going to be a patsy. There always is. Who the patsy will be, we don't know. And then we have that George Zinn who confessed. He said, I did it. I'm the shooter. Now, why would this guy do that? The minute we looked at him, there's like no way in a million years did this guy shoot anyone. He looks like Bernie Sanders. That guy didn't shoot a single person. He's probably never held a gun in his life. And Tim, yeah, it 100% too clean. The perfect shot, the perfect shot. There's only so many types of people who can do that perfect shot. And I don't believe people are going to say, oh, we just got lucky. That was not a lucky shot. That guy had the right caliber of bullet. He had the right rifle. He knew exactly what he's doing. He got it in one shot. He knew right where to aim, right where to aim. And it's not lost on me also that when Arena was killed, it was the same area, of her neck that she was stabbed. And, these people, it almost made me think today, is there like a training class going on out there that we don't know about where people are saying, hey, if you want to get them, this is where you do it. I don't know what's happening. I'm extremely upset about it. I'm very angry about it. I feel like we're being waged war upon us. Not that we're waging war on other people, but that they are waging war on us. And that's another thing. That's another aspect to even look at it. Is this supposed to set off a civil war? Because, a lot of folks would really like that to happen. Are they just irking us and pushing us like poking the bear until we react? Is that what they want? Is this like the final straw that they took an icon of our movement and assassinated him in public in front of his family? It's really unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. So hard to even think about. Joe says, absolutely an execution, probably by BlackRock. Hey, you never know. Paul says, the neck is such a critical area of the body. You have the airway, artery, spine. All of these dictate whether you live or die. If you combine any of them, it's unfortunately a done deal. And that's exactly what happened, Paul. That artery would have completely just shredded. There would be no coming back from that. This person knew what they were doing. This person knew what they were doing. Drew says exactly that. Someone who shoots all the time. That's why I said it was someone who knew what they were doing. This person definitely knew what they were doing. Manny says it sure seems that way. Allison, CCW, I'll tell you, I hate to say it. I was a little nervous today. driving home, not because of me. I'm thinking, I don't know. My head's on a swivel. I don't know who's coming after me next. Is it going to be the people, the radical Islamists, because I talk so much about banning Sharia law? Is it going to be some deranged black person like DeCarlos Brown, who just, for whatever reason, hates white people? Is it going to be somebody from the deep state who doesn't like, what we talk about, or somebody who might think I'm MAGA, just some random white crazy liberal? I feel like they're all against us. Not all the people, but different representatives of those groups. But I do want to make one thing very clear. Yes, I do feel like a war is waged against us, but we have to be very careful here with the language that we use and the verbiage that we use, because again, the average person, the average Democrat in your neighborhood, your neighbors, the average Muslims, the average Black Americans, the average Hispanics, these people do not hate us. They do not want to harm us. They do not want a war with us. They are not the people doing this to us. They might not like us. They might not like what we say or what we're talking about or what we represent, but they don't want to kill us. These are the small minority in each of these groups. And trust me, I don't see anybody on here saying it, but I can guarantee you there's somebody whispering under the breath, even radical Christians, because even radical Christians can be very dangerous people. It's the word radical that is what matters. Radicalism, extremism. And there are extremists in every single group. And those are the people who we have to watch for. But how do you know who that extremist is? That's why I said I was driving home today. I'm like, man, I'm looking here. I'm looking here. I'm like, any of these people could hate me. Any of them could look at me and hate me for so many different reasons. It's a very scary time. And I'm telling you, I would never act out. I'm not a violent person. I would never condone violence, but you have to absolutely have to figure out how to protect yourself against the violence, because I know how these things work. We've been down these roads before, haven't we? Things are going to get more violent. They're going to get more violent. They're going to get more divisive, because what's happening is the liberal media feels that this is their hallelujah moment. We're over here crying. They're having their hallelujah moment, and they're all praising whoever this person is that took out Charlie Kirk. It is unbelievable. And as we hear the media, because it is the media, this is all the media's fault. The media has caused the hatred. Trust me on that. And the media is going to make it worse. They're going to make it more divisive. There's somebody out there who wants us to be in a civil war. There's no question about it. And we knew this was coming, didn't we? If you listen to my show, or probably a lot of other shows, before the election, didn't we say they're going to do something? How long is it going to take before they do something to start a civil war? How long will it be? Because trust me, they're trying every single day to figure out how to make that move. But you know what? That's not us. We're not violent people. We've been saying that from day one. They think we are, but we're not violent people. Again, we're not going to take that first step to violence, but we sure as heck are going to protect ourselves, aren't we? Oh, well, guys, I don't have a whole lot more to say. Well, we're just going to have to wait and see what comes out of this. Allison says, join the Washington Guard, learn self-defense and self-reliance. Yes. And by the way, I'm not going to have a show tomorrow because duty has called. I have to work tomorrow. For any of you who know, I work in anti-piracy. I'm going to be out preventing the theft of films. So I'm going to be out tomorrow working, but I wanted to make sure we touch base tonight, because how could we not? How could we not? I still cannot believe, it still seems like a dream that Charlie Kirk is gone from this world. His beautiful wife, Erica, his daughters, I can't imagine what they're going through. I know his wife, Erica, posted a prayer today, on social media, and they were very close from what I could see and understand. And I just can't even imagine. I really can't. It's a war. It's a war against Christianity. It's a war against conservative values. I don't care who the shooter is. That is one thing we can agree on. Doesn't matter which of these groups I came from. This is a war on Christianity. It's a war on conservatism. It's a war on MAGA. I don't care who did the shooting. It all fits under those categories. And Jeffrey says, which comes first, civil war or end of times? I feel like we're in the midst of the end of times. Mandy says, so glad you show. Thank you so much, Mandy. I hate the circumstances too. I really do. Paul says, you have players from not only the U.S., but globally that want the U.S. in chaos, fighting amongst ourselves so they can continue to slide in the back door. You know what? Absolutely so. And that's why it's so hard to know who this person is. Will they ever be caught? I think that there's probably, this is a school. That's the one thing we have to remember. This is a university. There's cameras everywhere on a university. They're going to get some good footage of this person. Now, if this person is, I don't really think this is a professional sniper in the way that it's a professional hitman. I maybe, but we're going to find out. They've got cameras everywhere on a campus. They're definitely going to have video footage of this person, pictures of this person. But if they cover themselves well, they disguise themselves well enough, they may never know. They just may never know. And good night, Brenda. And same for me. It's about my time too. Kathy said, I said the same thing to my coworker today, that I felt like this was a dream or a nightmare that I'm going to wake up from. I wish that were the case, Kathy. I wish we were going to wake up for it. And, I wish we were going to wake up from it, because there's no going back. There's no going back after today. A line has been crossed. We'll never step back over that line. Never. It will never happen. Things are going to change. I don't know yet in what way, but I can guarantee you things are going to change. They crossed the line. They crossed the line. It doesn't matter who it is. It's the fight against Christianity, against conservative values, against the MAGA movement. No matter who it is and why this person was up there, that's what it's about. And I'll tell you, they've crossed a line that they cannot ever retract. Where we go from here, I don't know. We're going to find out, but it scares me. It makes me nervous. I'm sick over it. I would like things to go back, but it's not going to happen. They're not going to go back. We know now, don't we? We know now. They want to take us out one by one. That's what they'd like to do. Gosh, I remember being on a show back. I don't even remember what show it was. Maybe The Edge with Vic, Eric, and Chris, and we talked about. We went down the list of all the media, because it comes back to the media. All of the people in the media who at one time or another made statements saying that they wanted us all assassinated. They wanted to cleanse the world of us. I wish I could go back to that clip and all the different things and statements that people had said. This was all people in the media. We've had probably 15 different statements from media representatives in liberal media who said that basically they want to harm us, cause harm to us, get rid of us, cleanse the world of us. And now they're starting. Sandy says, school shooting. Yeah, there was a school shooting at Evergreen. I think that was in Colorado, but I don't recall right now. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Stacy. Well, guys, Paul, yes, it is going to get worse before it gets better. We're going to wake up tomorrow and we're all going to wish this was just a big dream, but it's not. It is, not only is it reality, but it's a reality we're going to have to deal with. So right now, I know Donald Trump has vowed that he will seek justice for Charlie Kirk. The two of them very close, of course. I don't know where we're going to go from here, but I'll tell you, tomorrow's going to be a really tough day for a lot of reasons, not only in mourning Charlie Kirk and everything he brought to us, as a Christian and as a conservative, but also the loss that we face going forward. His words of wisdom, his prayers, everything that he's doing. Who's going to take his place? Who's going to pick up where he left off at these high schools, colleges, universities, his speaking engagements, going to different churches around the country? Who's going to pick up where he left off? It's a huge loss to America in general. Even those folks who didn't support Charlie Kirk, it's a huge loss. Well, guys, that's about all I have to say today. Paul says the left has selected their issue for midterms, gun control. You'll see more before then. Oh, gun control is going to be their number one topic tomorrow. They've already been, as a matter of fact, we're not even going to get into the Democrats who didn't want to pray for Charlie Kirk. Most of them did, but a lot of them were shouting out about gun control and all kinds of other crazy nonsense. But guys, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I know this is weird for me to have a show in the evening, but I do appreciate you joining me. And I wish there was more to talk about. I wish it was under better circumstances. I will not have a show tomorrow morning. I will be back on Friday. I do hope that on Friday we have some additional information. I hope that some justice has been served. I hope that our hearts don't have the hatred, in them that I'm feeling right now for the people that have done this to us. A lot to pray on, right? All right, guys. Again, thank you so much. I hope you guys, Jeffrey says they killed the kind-hearted one, a tactical error, perhaps. Big mistake, that's for sure. Big mistake. Yes, Cindy, yes, tomorrow is 9/11, and we certainly cannot forget that as well. Joe says, much love to everybody. Yes, much love to you guys all. Let's all say an extra prayer tonight, not only for, of course, the family of Charlie Kirk and all the people that he loved and loved him, but also, for our own hearts and some of the things that are probably going through our minds tonight that are rather unpleasant. Let's hope to turn a new leaf with that in the morning. But thanks everyone again. Thank you for joining me. I hope you guys all have a really fantastic night. As hard as that is, say some extra prayers. We will get through it. We won't be the same, but we will get through it. We'll see you all on Friday. Have a great night, everyone.